the guys and I were talking about it in the office, and they were already seeing Cam, and I was like, I'm not really a fan of personal trainers. It's all about what they want, not what you want. And so I decided to meet with Cam, and I worked out actually his whole, what he works towards is making his clients feel better. And that's what appealed to me.
The biggest difference was?
Well, I mean, just that it's not about what he wants, it's what I want. So, and I wanted to feel better. So I worked out about 7 years ago, I had a herniated disc and a pinched nerve, and running a cleaning business made that really challenging, and managing that back injury was quite a challenge. So feeling better, I just assumed that in your mid-40s, that's just what happened, that you felt old and broken and that's just life. But it turns out that's not it, and that's what the team at Body by Soul have helped me understand.
And starting there, what was the process like?
It's not just about the physical training, it's about the mental training as well as the nutrition. And that's what I liked about it. The fact that that I never felt like I was on a diet per se, that it was just tweaking the way I was eating and listening to my body and how it responded to how I was fueling it, and being educated about my body and how it works and how it functions and how I can get it to function better.
Yeah.
Whereas with personal trainers before, it was just do this exercise, don't eat cake. And I've always wanted to know why. I always need to know why I do things, and they always explain to me why. There are no mirrors, so good. So it's no big egos. My daughter and I train together there, and she and I both feel like we've found our tribe, our community, which is really lovely, which you don't often get. And I've been a member of a gym, I've had personal training before, but this is probably the most comfortable I've felt in that sort of an environment. At the end of the day, I couldn't walk without pain. I would have to come home and nap most days, which isn't great when you're working and you're raising a family and feeding a family and all of that, and getting them to, at that stage, to after school activities. And it just really affected my day-to-day function. I was ready to change, but I was still reluctant. It was very new and very different. But the whole process was, it was getting my body moving and stretching first before I wasn't just thrown in the thick of it. And I was supported along the whole way, which I think is the difference. And you feel like you are the only person, that you are the most important client whenever you're with them, even though you know you're not the only client. Like, they're listening to you and they're wholeheartedly invested in you and your well-being. I've gone from someone who would be, cleaning 6 hours in a day and then having to come home and take a nap. And now I walk 3 or 4 times a week. I'm training, I'm boxing, and I'm feeling really good and more aware of my body, and probably fitter than I've ever been in my whole life. And I'm just slowly just getting my self-confidence too, I think. In terms of the nutrition, I have a better understanding of fueling my body. Like, if you compare it to a car, it'd be like having a car that needs unleaded petrol and putting in super, and understanding the difference that when you fuel a car like that, it's just not going to run properly. The same as that with my body. And the physical stuff, I'm learning and discovering new things and how my body works and the different things that it can do. But just even the self-talk and the self-belief. And like, say, for example, I might be working with a weight and then thinking, well, there's no way that I could ever lift X amount of kilos, and then suddenly I'm like, I am, or I'm squatting with 60 kilos, which like I would never have dreamed possible. Like, just believing that I'm capable. When I had my sore back, certainly in terms of cleaning, that was all I could do, and then the rest of any activity was quite restricted by my back pain. Whereas a few months ago, just we had people off sick, we just didn't have the staff to meet the needs of the client, so I had to go back cleaning, and I was cleaning 25 hours a week, whereas normally that would have had me bedridden. On top of that, I also ran the office and still trained, so it's strengthened me. I'm probably learning to manage my day-to-day stresses. I think that's always going to be a work in progress. That's just the world that we live in.
Yeah.
But I certainly think that, like, we do these group sessions once a week where we have a boxing class, and then we do meditation. And I know when I first started doing that, I was like, it's a bit too much. It's a bit too kumbaya for me. I don't know if I can do this. But now understanding that my body needs to rest and to wind down is really helping. And then we have a community meal, so it's actually really nice. So I guess in that regard, although again that's it's a work in progress because I've only been doing it 6 months, but that's certainly very helpful. It's taking me out of my comfort zone, and it's making me think about things that I probably didn't really want to or didn't think I needed to before now. They design it based on what your personal needs are. Like some people might have the nutrition down pat, so they'll work on them with their mental well-being as well as their physical well-being. Do you know what I mean? So they design it, as I understand it, they would design it based on my needs. So like there was no way when I started with them that I could have just gone straight into training. I would have been injured within the 4 weeks and I would have given up. I really needed to go through the process of understanding how my body worked, learning how to stretch so that I could benefit from the exercises. Whereas normally, like at the gym or any other training that I've done, it's just about getting in and exercising. I think with the mindfulness, you've kind of got to get it. Like you've got to be ready or open to experience it. Like some people just want the physical training. Well, I don't think then Body by Soul is for them. I think, but I mean, certainly going into it, all I knew was that I was in physical pain and I wanted someone to make me feel better, and that's what appealed to me. And nutrition was just a given because I understood that you had to fuel your body properly to be able to get it to function physically well. Probably the mindfulness is still something that I'm learning, and I think that's a process that will take probably the longest. That was unexpected but has been a nice addition. But I mean, every time I think I'm getting in a comfort zone with the training, it's switched up a bit. It's like there's this inner alarm bell that goes, hey, Jen's getting comfortable. Let's switch it up and challenge her a bit more so it's not boring or... So I know well enough like that I'll go in and I'll stretch and I'll either do boxing or I'll do, lift weights or I'll do a circuit. But every time I think, yep, I've got this down pat, they challenge me and then I surprise myself again about my capabilities. Diets are only as good as as long as you're on it.
Yeah.
But it's not about it's just not sustainable to live with a restricted... I mean, probably my family would think that I'm living in a restricted, but I truly do believe, so that if I have too much dairy or if I have too much wheat, it just doesn't make me feel well. So I'm choosing not to eat it. Yeah. Just like greasy food just gives me a pain in the tummy. It's just doesn't taste good enough to justify it. Yeah. But that's not to say I don't slip up, because life is about living. So they're realistic in that regard too, which is nice.
Did you ever say life isn't about living?
No, life is about living.
It's not about living. About getting in there. No, it's about living. I can't remember now. I've just gone blank.
Truth.
I know.
It doesn't matter what you said before.
Yeah. Oh, okay.